Welcome to Frame Dropped. Today's topic will be a little different. With all the latest talk about the working conditions that were required at Rockstar Games in order to make Red Dead Redemption 2 possible, we are going to discuss the practice that is common in game development, the so-called crunch, and whether it is necessary to make good games. So let's dive in. Crunch is the term that is used in the gaming industry to describe a period of time where most employees have to work overtime, late night and on weekends in order to meet a deadline. Naturally, this most often occurs in the months before the release of a game, because the game has to be polished as much as possible before being shipped. But crunch no longer exclusively happens in the final months. A trailer for E3, the presentation of a new gameplay mechanic to a publisher, and a beta release are only a few of the other reasons why game developers might have to sacrifice their free time and family life. This thing existed for a long time, but the current debate began to emerge when Rockstar executive Dan Houser gave an interview to the New York Magazine in which he talked about the making of Red Dead Redemption 2 and described working 100-hour weeks to get the game out the door. Although he later clarified that he was only referring to the core writing team and to a short period of time, there was a shitstorm, and understandably so. Earlier this week, Kotaku reporter Jason Schreier released a lengthy and in-depth report about the working conditions at Rockstar Games, including interviews from current and former employees. I've linked it in the video description below and suggest that you check it out if you want to find out more about the topic, and I can only scratch the surface in this video. Some of the employees state that despite admitting to have worked overtime and on weekends for some periods and sometimes even unpaid, they love being at Rockstar Games, and it has been the most satisfying work that they have ever done in terms of creativity. And when you look at the finished product Red Dead Redemption 2, well, it shows. I've only been able to play the first couple of hours of the game so far, but in my opinion the overall detail and the implementation of so many intertwining mechanics is just on a level that I haven't ever seen before. But other employees said that it was required for them to work for 50 to 60 hours, including weekends for periods of more than a year, sometimes even forever. Some state that the culture at Rockstar Games has developed in a way that you get dirty looks from your co-workers if you leave the office at a regular time. So even if it isn't officially required, if you want to succeed with your career, you need to sacrifice time with your wives, husbands, friends and children. And the crunch can get pretty extreme. The report states that a Rockstar San Diego employee had been asked to work 80-hour weeks. That would be an average of 11-hour workdays, 10 AM to 9 PM for all 7 days of the week. It is not hard to believe that these kinds of work conditions can't be extremely good for your health in the long term. And for some, it also means living in fear. Rockstar has a policy that states that only employees who finish the development of a game will be displayed in the credits. So because of that, many are afraid to leave the company early, even if they can't cope with the work ethics. Another employee from Rockstar Lincoln in the UK said this: "I have never suffered from depression before working at Rockstar. Now, sometime after leaving, it's a recurring issue for me. One tester who worked below me told me he had gone to the doctor for help dealing with depression, was asked where he works, and when he replied Rockstar, the doctor said, 'For God's sake, another one.'" Now that all sounds pretty bad, and you might ask yourself, is crunch really a necessary evil? Can't you make good games without it? Well, that's actually a pretty tough question. And I'll tell you right away that I don't have a definite answer. But what I can tell you is that I've often had self-induced crunch at the end of some of my projects, and I know that many people in the industry do it as well. During the last days before the screening of my short film, I had to work tirelessly to make everything work the way I wanted to. I basically didn't really sleep for about 3 days. On the day of the screening, I was so tired that I forgot my key in the outside keyhole to my flat and was lucky that nobody took advantage. What I'm trying to say is that there'll always be some form of crunch on projects where you want to make them as good as ever if you're really passionate. And in fact, many Rockstar employees agree that the crunch is self-induced because everybody wants to push the project as far as possible. And sometimes that's okay. But if this extreme situation doesn't last for a couple of days or maybe a month, but for years or even more, If some employees sleep in the office to save commute time, or if you don't want to crunch but are psychologically forced to do so because it is expected by everyone else, as often seems to be the case at Rockstar Games, then this just isn't good, let alone healthy. And then game development isn't about a passion for gaming anymore. It becomes something else entirely. Sure, this practice can produce extraordinary creative products, but in my opinion, the cost just isn't worth it. So what should you do about it? Should you not buy Red Dead Redemption 2 because of it? Jason Schreier, who wrote the article, doesn't think that this is the right way, and I agree. For starters, Rockstar employees get a yearly bonus depending on the success of the latest game, so not buying it, even if you want to, would actually also hurt the people you are trying to stand up for. And although a lot of this might sound like Rockstar belongs to one of the worst companies in the world, they actually acknowledge that there are problems relating to the working conditions that desperately need to be fixed. And they allowed the staff to talk to the press and openly discuss their experiences on social media, which is definitely a huge step in the right direction from the company. And despite all that, Red Dead Redemption 2 is an extraordinary piece of art, which hundreds of people across many different countries have made with a great passion. And even if they are not feeling that they are being treated well by the company, they still want to know what the world thinks of the game that they have worked on for the past 8 years. I think the best thing that you can do against inhumane working conditions in the gaming industry is to do what I tried to do with this video and to spread awareness about the topic by actively speaking about it. And the next time when you play a game, maybe just ask yourself what work must have went into it, just so you could pop in the disc, grab a beer and enjoy your evening. But what do you think? Were you aware of the conditions in the gaming industry? Do you disagree with us and think that we should boycott Rockstar Games? And if not, are you as impressed as we are about Red Dead Redemption 2? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. See you next time.